Have you ever walked down a city street and felt a vibration? A low hum from beneath the concrete and steel? Most people just brush it off. It's the subway, maybe. Water pipes. The normal, mundane machinery of a city at work. But what if it's something else? What if, right under your feet, there's a world you were never meant to see? A world of silent, dark corridors stretching for miles, connecting buildings of immense power. A world of forgotten cities, buried by disaster and left to rot. A world of top-secret bases, built to withstand the apocalypse, waiting for a doomsday that might be closer than we think. Tonight, we're not just looking at abandoned subway stations or sewer systems. We are pulling back the curtain on the official story. We're going on a journey into a vast, hidden network of tunnels snaking beneath America's most powerful cities. These aren't just passages. They're the arteries of a secret world, a world built for purposes they will never, ever admit. From the continuity of government bunkers designed to save the elite, to the Prohibition-era smuggling routes that fueled a nation's thirst for vice, all the way to the shadowy claims of a secret space program operating from deep underground. We're going to ask the questions nobody else is asking and connect the dots of a story that has been deliberately kept in the shadows. We're going underground to uncover what they are really hiding beneath America's cities. To really wrap your head around the sheer scale of what's beneath our feet, we have to start with the story they are willing to tell, or at least the parts they can't deny anymore. This is the story of the Cold War, a time of paranoia, nuclear brinkmanship, and a frantic, desperate race to make sure that no matter what happened on the surface, the United States government would survive underground. This was the birth of the Continuity of Government program, a plan that led to some of the most sophisticated and secret structures ever built. Our first stop is a place that sounds like it was ripped from a spy thriller, the Raven Rock Mountain Complex, also known simply as Side-R. Tucked away on the Pennsylvania-Maryland border, this isn't just a bunker, it's an underground city. It's been called the Underground Pentagon for a good reason. Back in 1950, President Truman gave the secret order. For 10 months, crews worked around the clock, blasting and hauling away 500,000 cubic yards of solid granite. What they left behind was a cavern big enough to house an entire wing of the government. Inside this mountain, they built 5 separate, 3-story buildings. Think about that. Entire office buildings, with roads and parking areas large enough for buses, all deep inside a mountain. Side-R was designed to be completely self-sufficient for at least 30 days, with room for 3,000 essential personnel in case of a national emergency. It has its own power plants, massive water reservoirs, and a state-of-the-art ventilation system to keep the air free of radioactive fallout. But it's the amenities that really show you the scope of this place. Side-R isn't just about survival. It's about keeping some semblance of normal life going while the world above might be ending. The facility has a medical and dental clinic, a fire department, a post office, a big dining facility, and even a chapel and a barber shop. For fun, there's a fitness center and, believe it or not, a bowling alley. Recently, it's even been reported to have its own Starbucks. This isn't a shelter. It's a fully operational, long-term home. Its main mission today is to support the continuity of operations for the Department of Defense, ready to become a backup Pentagon at a moment's notice. After the 9/11 attacks, Vice President Dick Cheney was taken to Raven Rock, a stark reminder that these places aren't relics, they're very much active. Then there's the even more famous Cheyenne Mountain Complex in Colorado. Blasted out of solid granite, it's huge. 25-ton steel blast doors are made to withstand a multi-megaton nuclear blast. For decades, it was the nerve center of NORAD, the North American Aerospace Defense Command, the eyes and ears of the nation, watching the skies for Soviet bombers or missiles. Like Side-R, it's a self-contained city with its own power, water, and life support systems, all built on giant shock-absorbing springs to ride out the seismic shock of a nuclear attack. These two sites are just the most well-known. They're the public face of a much wider, more secret network. The Mount Weather Emergency Operations Center in Virginia is another key spot, the designated relocation site for the highest-level civilian leaders, like the president and the cabinet. These are the official secrets, the ones we know about because their existence, if not all their capabilities, has been declassified or acknowledged. They were built for one reason: to ensure the survival of American leadership. But this official story, as incredible as it is, only scratches the surface. It sets the stage for a much deeper, more disturbing question. If this is what they've admitted to building, what else is down there that they haven't? These bunkers prove they have the ability, the money, and the motivation to take on massive, secret underground construction projects. They're the starting point of our journey, the known territory before we go into the truly uncharted depths. They establish a crucial fact. For over 70 years, the United States government has been digging. The real question is, where did they stop? Every city has its secrets, but no city is built on more layers of power, intrigue, and secrecy than Washington, D.C. On the surface, it's a city of monuments and museums, of political theater and public service. But beneath the marble facades of the Capitol, the White House, and the Supreme Court lies another city. A hidden network of tunnels, corridors, and even a private subway system, all designed to move the nation's elite unseen and untouched by the world above. This underground network isn't a conspiracy theory. It's a documented, working part of the Capitol's infrastructure. Its most famous piece is the United States Capitol subway system. This isn't your average public transit. It's a private, electric people mover just for members of Congress, their staff, and official visitors, zipping them quickly and securely between the Capitol and the various House and Senate office buildings. The first line was built way back in 1909, connecting the Capitol to the Russell Senate office building with what were basically battery-powered cars. Over the decades, the system grew. A monorail was added for the Dirksen and Hart buildings, and a separate subway line for the Rayburn House building. The purpose is practical, letting lawmakers get to chambers for votes without being held up by weather, security, or nosy reporters. During Senate votes, you can see the trains shuttling back and forth like crazy. But their very existence creates a shielded world, a bubble for those in power. While tourists and citizens walk the streets above, the nation's leaders are gliding beneath them, moving through a private world. During the January 6, 2021 Capitol riot, this hidden network became more important than ever, as it was reportedly used to evacuate many members of Congress and their staff to safety. But the Capitol subway is just the most visible part of this underground web. A huge network of pedestrian tunnels also connects the key buildings of government. There's the Cannon Tunnel, which links the Cannon House office building to the Capitol, famous for its annual high school art competition. Tunnels also connect the Capitol to the Library of Congress and the Supreme Court, creating a whole campus of power, all interconnected underground. And these tunnels aren't just empty hallways. They have services and amenities, from cafeterias and coffee shops to post offices and even art galleries, creating a self-contained ecosystem for the thousands who work on Capitol Hill. The real mystery starts when we look at the White House. Officially, the White House Historical Association confirms the existence of the Presidential Emergency Operations Center, or POC. This is the famous bunker under the East Wing, built during World War II after the attack on Pearl Harbor. It was originally made to withstand a bomb strike and has been upgraded over the decades. It was in the POC where Vice President Cheney and other high-level officials took shelter on September 11th. To connect the White House to even more secure places, a tunnel was dug to the Treasury building next door. The Treasury's basement, with its huge vaults, was seen as an even safer spot during the war. A passageway also links the White House and the Eisenhower Executive Office building. But it's the rumored tunnels, the ones that are still officially unconfirmed, that really grab your imagination. For decades, whispers have circulated about a much deeper, more extensive network. Is there a secret tunnel connecting the White House directly to the Capitol, or to Camp David, or even to Raven Rock? Officially, these are just rumors with no proof, but we do know that other, more discreet passages exist. During the Reagan administration, another secret tunnel was reportedly built to protect the president from a potential terrorist attack. This passage is said to start behind a hidden panel in a wall near the Oval Office, leading to a staircase that goes down into the West Wing's basement. It was a short-range escape route, not a doomsday bunker, just for a quick evacuation in a sudden crisis. This sprawling network beneath DC tells a clear story. It's a story of security, efficiency, and most of all, separation. The tunnels create two Washingtons, the one we see, and the one that operates in the shadows, a hidden nerve center connecting the most powerful institutions in the world. They're a physical manifestation of the layers of secrecy that define the city. While we look at the majestic dome of the Capitol, we have to wonder what's moving in the silent, sterile corridors right beneath it. These tunnels prove that when it comes to the nation's elite, there's always a secret path, a hidden way to move, to meet, and to escape. And it makes you wonder, how deep does this labyrinth really go?
We've only scratched the surface of the official story, and we're already in a world of secret subways and presidential bunkers. But the rabbit hole goes much, much deeper. If you're finding this as fascinating as I am, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss where we're going next, because we are about to leave the world of government documents behind and enter the realm of forgotten cities and lost history. Not all of America's underground worlds were built by secret government agencies for doomsday. Some were created by accident, by disaster, and by the relentless march of progress, leaving entire city blocks buried beneath our modern streets. These aren't bunkers. They're time capsules, forgotten storefronts, dusty sidewalks, and ghostly corridors that tell the story of a world that once was. To find them, our investigation takes us to the West Coast, to the city of Seattle. Today, Seattle's Pioneer Square is a charming historic district, but under its cobblestone streets lies a buried city, a relic of a dramatic past. This is the Seattle Underground. To understand how it got there, we have to go back to June 6, 1889. 19th century Seattle was a city built of wood, located in the heart of lumber country. Everything from buildings to sidewalks was made of timber. It was a city made of kindling, a disaster waiting to happen. On that fateful June afternoon, a carpenter's apprentice let a pot of glue boil over. The glue caught fire, and in a room full of wood shavings and turpentine, the fire exploded. It spread with terrifying speed, jumping from one wooden building to the next, helped by the wooden boardwalks that acted like fuses. When the fire hit a liquor store, it blew up. Firefighters were helpless. The city's private water system had such low pressure the hoses were useless. By the next morning, 25 city blocks, the whole central business district, were just smoldering ash. But out of this disaster came a radical idea. The city leaders decided not just to rebuild, but to fix Seattle's two biggest problems, the fire hazard and the flooding. The original city was built on marshy tidelands, and at high tide, the primitive sewer system would often back up, causing toilets to erupt like geysers. Their solution was bold. They ordered that all new buildings had to be made of stone or brick, and most importantly, they decided to raise the streets. They built huge concrete retaining walls on either side of the old streets, some as high as 30 feet, and then filled the gap with dirt and rubble from the city's steep hills. This created a new, higher street level. But here's where it gets weird. The business owners had already started rebuilding their brick and stone buildings on the old, lower level. For a while, Seattle existed on two levels. People used ladders to climb from the muddy, half-finished new streets down to the old sidewalks to get into the shops, whose front doors were now a story or two underground. Eventually, new sidewalks were built at the higher level, bridging the gap between the new street and the second story of the buildings to light the old sidewalks. Below, they put in vault lights, small panes of purple glass set in the concrete, which you can still see in Pioneer Square today. Business owners moved their entrances and storefronts up to the new ground floor, and the original level, the old Seattle, was just abandoned. For years, this underground world was used for storage or left to rot, officially condemned by the city in 1907 over fears of the bubonic plague. Today, guided tours take you through these eerie, preserved corridors, where you can see the original storefronts, bank entrances, and hotel lobbies, a perfect snapshot of a city buried in time. But Seattle isn't the only city with a hidden history under its streets. Let's head south to Los Angeles. LA is known for its sprawling freeways, but deep beneath downtown, there's another forgotten transportation network. Over 11 miles of tunnels snake under the city, a relic of a past era. Part of this network was the city's first subway, the Belmont Tunnel, which opened in 1925. It was used by the famous red cars of the Pacific Electric Railway, carrying about 65,000 passengers a day through a nearly mile-long tunnel under the city E's core to the grand Art Deco-style subway terminal building. But by the 1950s, with the rise of the car, the red cars were phased out. The last train ran in 1955, with a sign that read "To Oblivion." The tunnels were abandoned and left in the dark. But these subway tunnels were just one part of LA's underground world. Another set of service tunnels was built to connect city buildings, and it was during the 1920s, with Prohibition, that these passages found a new, illegal purpose. The 11-mile network became a secret highway for bootleggers. Alcohol, smuggled in from ships, was moved quietly through the tunnels to hidden speakeasies. Many bars and hotels in the downtown area had secret entrances in their basements, letting gangsters and socialites move between illegal spots without ever being seen on the street. The famous King Eddie Saloon, which pretended to be a piano store, was one such hub. These tunnels became the arteries of LA's criminal underworld, a place of mobsters, corruption, and secret deals, a history that was sealed off and forgotten when Prohibition ended. Our final stop on this part of the journey takes us to the Midwest, to Detroit. Under the Motor City lies a truly huge and unexpected world, the Detroit salt mines. Starting in the early 1900s, mining companies dug out a massive network of tunnels, more than 1,500 acres in size with over 100 miles of roads, all 1,200 feet below the surface. For decades, this underground labyrinth was a center of industry. But like in LA, these tunnels also attracted legends of illegal activity. During Prohibition, it's rumored that some of the passages were used to smuggle alcohol from Canada right under the Detroit River. These accidental undergrounds in Seattle, Los Angeles, and Detroit are fascinating because they weren't planned for secrecy. They're the ghosts of history, layers of the past that were paved over and forgotten. They show us that our cities aren't just what we see on the surface. They have a vertical history, a story that goes down, level by level, into the dark. These sunken streets and abandoned passages are the perfect example of how easy it is to lose a piece of the world right under our feet. They're the civilian equivalent of the government's secret bunkers, proof that vast, complex, and forgotten worlds can and do exist, hidden in plain sight. Our investigation has taken us through top-secret government bunkers and forgotten buried cities. We've seen spaces built for presidents and spaces abandoned by pioneers. But what happens when these dark, forgotten tunnels become the last resort for the living? What happens when the hidden world under our cities becomes home? Our journey now takes a turn, from the architectural to the human, as we explore the stories of the Mole People, the unseen communities who have carved out a life in the deep, dark spaces beneath New York City. The term Mole People itself is controversial, often sensationalized, but it points to a real thing: homeless individuals and communities finding shelter in the huge network of abandoned subway and railroad tunnels that crisscross the bedrock of Manhattan. This isn't a new story. For decades, the city's underbelly has been a refuge for those with nowhere else to go. One of the most famous of these underground domains is the Freedom Tunnel. The Freedom Tunnel is an Amtrak-owned train tunnel running for almost 3 miles under Riverside Park on Manhattan's west side. During the 1980s, parts of the tunnel were abandoned, and it became a haven for a large community of homeless people. This wasn't just a place to sleep. It was a place to live. People built elaborate shacks and structures out of scavenged wood and sheet metal. They tapped into city power lines for electricity to run lights, TVs, and even small kitchen appliances. They created a society with its own rules, its own leaders, and its own unique culture. Journalist Jennifer Toth brought this world to mainstream attention with her 1993 book, The Mole People: Life in the Tunnels Beneath New York City. Though some of its claims have been questioned, the book painted a vivid and often scary picture of life underground. Toth described communities with clear hierarchies, some led by a mayor or a lord of the tunnels. She told stories of people who had lived underground for years, some even raising families in the dark. She described a world of both community and danger, where residents looked out for each other but also faced threats from rival groups, drug addiction, and the constant risk of being hit by a train. Life in the tunnels is a constant fight for survival. The darkness is total, broken only by makeshift lights or the headlamps of an approaching train. The air is thick with brake dust and grime. The sound is a constant rumble from the city above and the roar of trains below. Yet for many, this dangerous world was better than the violence and exposure of the city streets. It offered a bit of privacy, shelter from the weather, and a sense of community that was often missing up top. The communities were diverse. There were veterans, people struggling with mental illness, artists, and those who just fell through the cracks of society. They survived by collecting cans and bottles for recycling, panhandling, or working odd jobs. They made homes, some surprisingly elaborate, with separate living areas, kitchens, and bedrooms. The walls of the Freedom Tunnel became a canvas for graffiti artists, most famously Chris Freedom Pape, who created large, elaborate murals that could only be seen by the tunnel's residents and the occasional urban explorer. These murals, including a famous version of Goya's The 3rd of May 1808, brought a strange beauty to the underground darkness. In the 1990s, Amtrak started to reclaim the Freedom Tunnel for active use and systematically evicted the residents. The shantytowns were torn down and access points were sealed. This pushed many of the tunnel dwellers back to the streets or into the shelter system, but the phenomenon hasn't completely disappeared. While the large, organized communities of the Freedom Tunnel days are mostly gone, people still find shelter in the forgotten nooks and crannies of New York's vast underground. The story of the mole people is a key part of our investigation because it adds a vital human element to the tunnels. These passages aren't just abstract spaces on a map. They are places where people have lived, loved, fought, and died. Their existence shows the sheer size and accessibility of the underground. If a hidden society can thrive for years just a few dozen feet under one of the busiest cities on Earth, it proves how much can happen in these spaces, completely unknown to the millions of people walking above. These stories force us to rethink the nature of the underground. It's not just a place for government secrets or ghosts of the past. It is a living, breathing space, a final frontier in the urban landscape. It's a stark reminder that beneath the world we know, there are other worlds lived in by people we have chosen not to see. Their presence is a testament to human resilience and a sobering critique of the society that left them behind. And if entire communities can exist for decades in the tunnels without official oversight, what other, more organized and better funded groups could be operating in even deeper, more hidden locations?
We've journeyed through the declassified and the forgotten. We've seen the government's doomsday bunkers, the sunken cities of the past, and the hidden societies of the present. Now, our investigation has to take its final, most controversial step. We're going down into the murky world of conspiracy, a realm of whistleblowers, classified projects, and claims so wild they challenge our whole understanding of the world beneath our feet. This is where the official story falls apart completely, and we're left with a series of tantalizing and terrifying possibilities. For decades, rumors have swirled about a vast network of deep underground military bases, or DUMBs, scattered across the United States. These aren't your grandpa's Cold War bunkers. The claims describe facilities far more advanced and far more secret than Raven Rock or Cheyenne Mountain. They're said to be connected by a network of high-speed maglev trains, creating a secret underground transportation system. The supposed purpose of these bases is all over the map, from housing secret military projects and serving as doomsday shelters for a global elite, to even darker claims involving reverse-engineered alien technology. One of the most persistent voices here is Catherine Austin Fitts, a former Assistant Secretary of Housing and Urban Development during the first Bush administration. Fitts has made the explosive claim that a huge part of what she calls the black budget, trillions of dollars in unaccounted-for government spending, has been funneled into building a massive, secret infrastructure. She alleges that between 1998 and 2015, a staggering $21 trillion in federal funds went missing or was undocumented. According to her analysis, this money was used, in part, to fund a secret space program and a sprawling network of underground bases. These facilities, she claims, are part of a breakaway civilization, an elite group with access to advanced technology, getting ready to survive and reboot society after a planned global catastrophe. These are, of course, extraordinary claims that lack verifiable public evidence. They exist in the world of financial analysis and whistleblower testimony, which is often hard to prove. But the huge amount of unaccounted-for money in government budgets is a documented fact, leaving a giant hole where answers should be. This brings us to maybe the most infamous of all alleged underground bases, Dulce, New Mexico. The legend of the Dulce base is a cornerstone of modern ufology and conspiracy culture. The story comes mostly from a man named Phil Schneider, who claimed to be a former government geologist and engineer. Before he died in 1996, Schneider gave a series of lectures where he laid out his supposed involvement in building deep underground military bases. According to Schneider, the Dulce base is a 7-level joint human-alien facility. He claimed that in 1979, while helping to drill a new section of the base, he and his team accidentally broke into a large cavern full of extraterrestrial beings, the so-called Greys. A firefight supposedly broke out, leading to many casualties on both sides. Schneider claimed he was one of only a few human survivors, and that the incident revealed a terrifying truth, that the U.S. government was in a secret deal with a malevolent alien species, letting them abduct and experiment on humans in exchange for advanced technology. The story is, without a doubt, one of the wildest and most disturbing in the history of conspiracy. There is no hard evidence to back up Schneider's claims. No documents, no photos, only his testimony. Critics point to inconsistencies in his story and a lack of any witnesses to back it up. Yet, the legend of Dulce lives on, fueled by a deep distrust of government secrecy and the enduring mystery of the UFO phenomenon. It has become a modern myth, a dark fairy tale about what could be happening in the deepest, most inaccessible parts of our world. While stories like the Dulce base are on the far edges of belief, they tap into a very real and documented history of government secrecy. The tunnels we know about, like those in D.C., and the bunkers we know about, like Raven Rock, prove that the government has both the reason and the resources to build vast secret worlds underground. They have spent billions, maybe trillions, in secret for decades. The core question of the conspiracy theories isn't could they, but what did they do with that power? Did they stop at building bunkers for the continuity of government? Or did they keep digging, keep building, keep expanding a secret empire under the surface? Is it possible that the official story is just a cover, a limited hangout designed to distract us from a much deeper, more profound truth? We may never know for sure. The very nature of these alleged projects makes them almost impossible to prove or disprove. But as we look at the documented evidence of secret tunnels and bunkers, and the very real issue of trillions in unaccounted-for spending, we are left to wonder. The line between documented fact and wild conspiracy starts to blur, leaving us in a shadowy space of doubt and suspicion, staring down into the darkness and asking, what else are they hiding? Our journey into America's hidden underground has taken us through layers of history, from Cold War bunkers to Prohibition-era smuggling routes. We've explored the documented, the forgotten, and the conspiratorial. But our investigation can't end in the past, because the strategic importance of the world beneath our feet is more relevant today than ever. The United States military is actively and aggressively getting ready for the next frontier of combat, subterranean warfare. The ghost of tunnel warfare is not new to the American military. It was burned into the nation's memory during the Vietnam War. The Viet Cong created huge and complex tunnel systems, like those at Siu Chi, which stretched for hundreds of miles. These tunnels served as barracks, hospitals, supply routes, and command centers, letting them launch surprise attacks and then vanish into the earth. To fight this threat, the U.S. Army sent in specialists known as tunnel rats. These were often smaller soldiers, armed with only a pistol, a knife, and a flashlight, who would crawl into the dark, claustrophobic, and booby-trapped passages to flush out the enemy. It was harrowing, terrifying work that left a deep psychological scar on those who did it. For decades after Vietnam, underground combat was mostly left to specialized special operations units. But in recent years, that has changed dramatically. The Pentagon has realized that future wars will inevitably be fought in and under dense megacities, where enemies can use sewers, subways, and purpose-built tunnels to their advantage. From the extensive tunnel networks built by Hamas in Gaza to the thousands of underground military facilities believed to exist in North Korea and China, the subterranean domain is now seen as a critical battlefield. As a result, the U.S. Army has launched an ambitious and expensive effort to train its regular forces to fight underground. The service has poured hundreds of millions of dollars into this initiative, recognizing that in a major conflict, elite special forces won't be enough to handle the sheer scale of the underground problem. A 2017 Army document, Small Unit Training in Subterranean Environments, laid out the new doctrine, admitting that this type of warfare had been dangerously ignored. To fix this, the military has been building state-of-the-art training facilities designed to simulate the unique horrors of underground combat. One of the largest is simply called Range 68 at Fort Liberty, formerly Fort Bragg, in North Carolina. This isn't just a simple tunnel. It's a sprawling, 2/3 of a mile-long complex of disorienting passages, hidden hatches, tight crawl spaces, and multi-level chambers, all built under a mock village. A training scenario might start with soldiers clearing a house, only to find a hidden entrance to the tunnel network below. They then have to chase the enemy into an environment where traditional advantages disappear. Inside these training tunnels, soldiers face a host of challenges. The darkness is total, forcing them to rely on night vision and thermal optics. Communications are a nightmare. Standard radios don't work well, if at all, underground, needing new mesh network technologies to stay in touch with the surface and each other. The physical environment is brutal, with some passages so narrow they have to be crawled through, and others intentionally flooded. And then there's the psychological toll. As one expert noted, you lose your sense of space, your sense of direction, your sense of time very quickly inside a tunnel. The training is designed to get soldiers used to this disorienting and claustrophobic reality before they have to face it in real combat. This training isn't just happening in the United States. U.S. forces in South Korea actively train to fight in Seoul's massive subway system and to counter the threat of North Korea's underground facilities. Joint exercises, like African Lion 2024 in Morocco, now regularly include subterranean warfare scenarios, practicing everything from clearing tunnels to hostage rescues in underground settings. The military is also investing heavily in new tech, from micro-drones and ground-penetrating radar to find hidden tunnels, to robotic systems that can be sent in to map passages and engage the enemy. minimizing risk to human soldiers. This modern focus on subterranean warfare brings our investigation full circle. It is the ultimate confirmation of the strategic importance of the world beneath our feet. It shows that while the public may be largely unaware of the extent of America's underground networks, the military is not. They are keenly aware of the threats and the opportunities that lie in the dark. The existence of these advanced training facilities and the military's open talk about subterranean doctrine is, in its own way, as revealing as the declassified documents about Cold War bunkers. It proves that the underground is not just a feature of history or a subject of conspiracy. It is a current, active, and evolving theater of operations. The question is no longer whether there are vast and complex worlds hidden beneath our cities, but rather, who controls them and for what purpose. The new generation of tunnel rats at Fort Liberty are being trained for a future war that will be fought in the very same kind of hidden spaces we've been exploring. A war in the dark deep beneath the surface of the earth. We're nearing the end of our deep dive, and what we've uncovered is a hidden world far more complex and sprawling than most people can imagine. If this investigation has opened your eyes, please consider liking this video and sharing it with someone who needs to see it. And I want to hear from you. What do you think is the biggest secret being kept in these tunnels? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Your engagement helps us bring more of these hidden stories to light. Our journey is complete. We've traveled from the acknowledged, top-secret doomsday bunkers of the Cold War to the accidental, sunken cities buried by history. We've walked the shadowy corridors beneath the nation's capital, listened to the stories of those who call the tunnels home, and descended into the deepest, darkest conspiracies of secret bases and black budgets. We ended by looking at the reality of modern warfare, where the battles of tomorrow are being rehearsed in purpose-built tunnels today. So what have we learned? We've learned that the world beneath our feet is not empty. It's layered with history, secrecy, and human struggle. We've confirmed the existence of vast, government-built underground complexes, proving that the ability and the will to create hidden worlds is not a matter of speculation, but of historical fact. The tunnels under Washington, D.C. show a clear intent to create a separate, secure world for the powerful. The buried streets of Seattle and the bootlegger passages of Los Angeles reveal how easily entire sections of our urban landscape can be lost to time, paved over and forgotten, but not gone. The lives of New York's tunnel dwellers show us that these spaces are not lifeless. They can and do become home to hidden societies, thriving just out of sight. And then there's the speculation. The claims of people like Catherine Austin Fitts and the legend of the Dulce base push the boundaries of belief. But they are fueled by a very real and documented lack of transparency in government spending and a long history of classified projects. These stories stick around because they speak to a fundamental distrust, a feeling that the official narrative is just that, a story made to hide a more complex and disturbing reality. Ultimately, we're left with a powerful and unsettling truth. A vast, intricate, and mysterious network of tunnels does snake beneath America's cities. It's not one single network, but many, built by different people for different reasons, a tangled web of military strategy, city infrastructure, criminal enterprise, and human survival. Some of it is known, much of it is forgotten, and parts of it may be so secret we will never have confirmation they exist. The next time you walk down a city street, listen for that low hum, feel for that subtle vibration, and ask yourself, what is really down there? What are they building? What are they preparing for? And what are they hiding right beneath your feet? The answers are there, buried in the darkness, waiting to be found.